Okay, beautiful. It's beautiful to be here again with this beautiful lady, this beautiful medical doctor who has a beautiful smile and a gap tooth. All right, my name is Emeka Novis, as you guys know. Today in this conversation, we're going to be looking at something quite very topical, and I will narrate my own experience, and then she will go ahead to share with us um, the things that you have to do to provide support to someone who's going through a chronic disease or an irrecoverable one. And my particular focus or my particular touch points when I read through your book and when you have the conversation we had was the fact that people tend to say certain things when they are thinking that they are saying the right things to someone who's hurting or someone who is going through a phase or a diseased phase of their lives. And so I wouldn't talk about the first pregnancy that we had, which went out in the first 3 weeks. The baby, went off. But the one that in the seventh year of the pregnancy, my wife started experiencing preeclampsia, and the doctors said that she had to be operated upon to bring out the baby and that there were 50-50 chances. But they said if the baby didn't come out, that my wife would either go into a coma, or if she survives the coma, she could become a vegetable for life and all that stuff. And so I was like, okay, let's take the chance and get the baby out. And so the baby came out and didn't last for 2 days and died. And so you can imagine how my wife had the baby bump and all that. People in the neighborhood were expecting her to put to bed and all that. And then we got back home without a baby, right? Because the baby died 2 days after, and I had to go bury the baby in the cemetery. It was a boy, a baby boy, and in the weeks to come after that traumatic experience, I remember what some individuals said to us. This thing that you're a Christian, and then you're going through this painful phase of your life, like you are dealing with chronic disease, cancer, or something, or something, a disease they say you're not able to recover, and that you should go prepare for your death or something like that. What people will say. Some even will tell you, "Did you pay your tithe? Are you sure that you didn't eat your tithe, and that's why the enemy has struck?" A whole lot of funny stuff. I remember a pastor who even came to me. That man is dead now. This is not to gloat over his death though, but I remember him coming to say all sorts of things, and that he wants to come to the house and pray for us to put the devil away. We should get mustard seed and all. So I just stood at the junction where he was speaking to me, and I smiled over the thing. I didn't even bother inviting him again to the house and all that. I've seen individuals say very, very, I don't know, annoying, immature stuff to someone who's going through pain in a disease state. For me, basically, like I have a friend of mine now. I don't even know what to say because she lost her dad. I've not called. I'm thinking to just go to visit. And when I go to visit, I don't need to say anything. You go to places and you find someone who's mourning her son or mourning her daughter, and then you open your mouth and say, "God has given, God has taken away." Those kind of things don't mean anything at that point in time. It's better you keep your mouth shut than you opening it up to say certain funny stuff. And so we are here tonight. We are going to be looking at how to care and provide support to someone suffering a chronic or incurable disease. Um, right here on the screen is Dr. Izunwa, and she's gone through stage 4 cancer and she survived. Last week, she told her story, how it all started, and how she was able to overcome. And today, she's going to be sharing on that journey, towards recovery. They were friends, they were family members, perhaps church folks, who were part of the recovery process. I read in the book. I'm sorry I didn't come with your book to Calabar, but I read where your dad, what your dad did during the times that you were. It was beautiful, because I see how I'm in the lives of my children now. I mean, before coming out to Calabar, my daughter was in the hospital, so I went to stay with her, hugged her. I know what she didn't even want me to travel. I know what fatherly love can do. I mean, to give you strength in that kind of crisis situation. So I loved what your dad did. And so we're having this conversation that what can you do if you're providing support to someone who is going through such a situation? What should you do? What can you say? What should you not say? What support can you do? Now can you provide and all that? So, guys, as you are coming on this live stream, please do well to share the live stream. Tap the share button beneath the screen and share this live stream. And let's know where you're tuning in from. I can see George, I can see Promise, I can see Miriam, I can see Imonkani, I can see, yeah, you're welcome to the live stream. Just tap the share button, and then invite your friends. Invite your friends. It could be maybe your mother is not well and she's going through a diseased phase. It could be your spouse. It could be your child. It could be your friend. It could be anybody who is close to you. What should you do in when such a person is passing through that phase? What should you do? I mean, when you receive such information that someone, I mean, there's a friend of mine right now. I don't even know what to say when I call her. She spoke to me 2 months ago that she has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's been tough, trying to get on the phone. I don't even want to say. I mean, if I call on the phone, what will I say? How are you? I mean, how are you? Sounds like I don't know. So I'm trying to form the right kind of words to speak to her, and I mean, in a very sensitive manner. Okay, so how do you care for someone who is going through the phase, or how to provide support? So welcome, doctor. You have a story, and we know that you're going to share your experiences from the depth of your experiences and what we should all do. So you are welcome all the way from United States of America. You are welcome to the live stream. It's good to have you here. And so I would like you to just dive into it and teach us, share with us what should we do, what should we not do, if we are to take care of someone who is suffering from a diseased condition. So, guys, as I said, please let's know where you're tuning in from. We can say hello to you, and then go invite like 5, 10 of your friends and tag them in the comment section. And let's get on this conversation right now. Doctor, you're welcome. Take it from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction, sir. Thank you for wow, you shared a lot. I mean, very painful, like candid experiences. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you all who are listening to this live. It's a great privilege to be here. My name is Dr. Izuhunwa Amadison. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a personal finance coach and educator, as well as a stage 4 cancer survivor. Um, yes, I had a very tiring, crazy battle with cancer for almost 2 years, and I'm really glad to be alive and to get through that and to be thriving as I am now. And on today, which is a very special, blessed day, marking the 5th anniversary of me being in remission. Yeah, it's a real honor to be able to share on a topic that is so very tricky. I mean, it's not just about cancer. It's that every time life happens, not just to us but the people around us, and I mean, our hearts go out to them. I want to be able to support in the best way we can. And kudos to every single person out there who like has a loved one who we're thinking of, praying for, really want to see the best outcome for this person, and are figuring out ways to help, right? So the entire purpose of this session is to be able to share my insights, having gone through something as crazy and as troubling, um, and life threatening as cancer. I would like to share based on my experience and also my observations. So, yes, as a loved one, as someone who is close to another person who is struggling, it could be a health issue. I mean, cancer or something else. It could be financial issues. It could be like mental health issues. There are so many things that people are struggling with their careers in school, all kinds. Right? How do you be a good support system to that. So I'm going to start by this caveat, which is that there is no one size fits all for every single person. First of all, I mean, we all have different personalities, we have different preferences. I mean, we're at different stages of our lives, so there are different things that may appeal to each person. So I don't want these things I'm about to share to be like, okay, this is the be all and end all, but to a good extent, it's going to give you some idea as to how you should go about or how you could truly express your care and concern and be of help to your person. Because yeah, a lot of things can get lost in the land of good intentions, right? As we will all agree, there are probably times when you have struggled where somebody did something, said something that it was just not the entire opposite of what the person should have said. So yes, I'll be sharing a lot about that. Now, the first thing I should start with the things that you should not say or do to a person, cancer patient, a cancer survivor, someone struggling through illness or anything. Um, it's really important to think through like your words and your actions and see if it could be viewed in any insensitive light, because some remarks are just outright awful. Like Mr. Nobis had said, where people, okay, in the kind of situation that is really traumatic to lose a child, right? When people hear that, I mean, the person is going through such an emotional toll, and then you say things like, "Oh, are you sure you paid your tithe?" Or basically, you're trying to infer that somehow, some way, they did something wrong and brought this calamity upon themselves. They brought this tragedy on themselves. It is a very an extremely insensitive thing, and I don't think many people say it to with any bad intention, but you just don't think through it, right? And that's where emotional intelligence really comes into play. I feel, especially in our part of the world, it is lost on many people what it really means to be emotionally intelligent, and it's something you need to work on if you want your relationships to go well. So some people are just blinded to that fact, and this is not an emotional intelligence class. There's a lot of material out there, books and things that you need to do to build your EI. But yes, how you have to think through that. Hmm. Could this remark, could this statement come out as insensitive in any way, or just basically callous? Saying an insensitive thing, like there's no time, even if the person is not in a bad emotional state, there's no time that it's appropriate or good to say things like that, right? So yes, for in terms of like cancer, for instance, you shouldn't be telling somebody that, oh, okay, maybe it's good that it was caught early, or oh, okay, I know someone who, oh, the person I know who battled cancer passed on, or things like that. That is not ultimately helpful to this person. Like, why would you be saying things like that, right? It's yeah, really think through things. It's not just have a filter. It's not the first thought that pops into your head. That's probably the best thing to say. Um, so yes, please don't be like, okay, so you heard this person had uh, some kind of cancer. Okay, so this person had lung cancer, and then you start asking things like, oh, did you smoke? Were you smoking? Maybe it's because of all that time that you were smoking. Even if it is this cancer or this tragedy is a direct, will I say, direct consequence of the person's action or inaction in the past, it is not right for you to bring that up. Like you have, if you truly mean well, that is not the kind of things that you can say. Which is why when I see comments like, let's say, and this has happened often when people are, maybe they lose their money in some kind of investment, maybe one of all these things that look like get rich quick schemes and stuff like that. And yes, the person may have been, yeah, practicing very reckless financial behaviors and all, but that is not the time to kind of rub salt on the injury and be like, oh, I told you so, because you don't have sense, all those kind of things. Just remarks like that have no place in people's lives. I don't think most of the time anyway, this comes from like maybe strangers or people who are not really close ones, but sometimes some loved ones, some actual people that claim to care about other people make such kind of insensitive statements. So it's one to really guard about, right? Another thing actually that may seem like it's a good thing, I wanted to get that one out of the way first, but may seem like it's a good thing, is having or making all your discussions or relationship with this person to be about the problem. So in this case, me like cancer, and then every kind of conversation is all about the cancer, or how, how are you feeling today? How is the treatment going? What doctors say? When is your next appointment? Like just things like that, where it's all centered around the cancer. This person, right? Everybody going through like a hard time, and my situation, cancer, is trying as much as possible to occupy their minds with other thoughts and other things, and trying to have some kind of normalcy in their life. Like they're at very low points, which probably they don't see getting out of anytime soon. But then they are trying their hardest to just free their mind of all of that thing. So if you're constantly bringing their mind to, oh, it's to cancer, everything somehow related to cancer, oh, are you sure you should wear that? Are you sure you should eat that? All those things, it's ultimately unhelpful. Yes, it's because you care that you're saying all these things, but it's not helpful. In fact, the most common is, I think, of all of this is how are you? Now, how are you in itself is not a question. We say how are you every time. It's just part of like introductory greetings and everything when you see somebody. But then it's important that don't stay there, and that is not like a frequent thing that you're saying, because hey, if this person is going through a lot, like in my time, like if you're asking me how are you today and you're asking me how are you tomorrow and how are you for a week, what do you want me to say? Oh, I feel like shit. This day is just horrible. Okay. I'm in so much pain. I can't really talk. I can't move. I can't bathe myself. So many things are going wrong. Like, should I download my entire history as to how I feel in that moment? It's going to be repetitive. You're probably not going to understand some things that I have to start explaining some more and all of that. Nobody is going to that stress. I don't have energy. I literally don't have any physical energy. I don't have mental energy to answer you, right? So people will either default answer fine, because what else are they going to say? Or, I mean, you just get ignored. Sometimes it just becomes so overwhelming, right? So, no, it's important to like just don't fix it. Yes, you want to know how the person is. Sometimes it is best, and I'll come to what to do instead. But yeah, those kinds of things are really trying. Mr. Nobis touched on this already. And yes, we are so we are culprits. Us as Africans are serious culprits when it comes to these things, where we try to impose our whole religious beliefs and protocols on people. I mean, like the one about the tithe. Okay, feel like I don't know, this whole how they see like Christianity, where it's this kind of okay. It's like in the days of Job, right, with his friends, where it's like, okay, if bad things happen to you, it must be your fault. It means that there's something you did wrong, or you did not do right. And things your fault. You have to find the problem. Okay, maybe this is how you should pray. These are the scriptures that you should be reading. You're not doing this thing right. Stop, fast this way. Don't eat this thing. Just guilt tripping you and making you feel worse than you already do. Like there were there were people who, especially on this religious front, where thankfully not like my closest circle, because I had the best closest circle, and they were very helpful for me. They actually did helpful things, right? But then there are people who, I mean, interaction, get to know my situation, and then want to go this whole like just route, like, no, you're Christian, sickness is not supposed to be like in your body. Okay, make sure you're praying this, then they'll be firing you. All this kind of um, um, terrible questions. They'll be, first of all, they're sending you like scriptures, like, okay, this is the thing that you need to read. This is how you need to pray. Just things that, okay, if you follow this process, then you'll be healed. If you're not healed, then it means you're not doing the thing right. Like people can be really, really insensitive and misinterpret the whole uh what it means to be Christian and how you're supposed to live as a Christian. It can be really, really crazy. And some people, some Christians, they'll understand that that is not how to express love, or that's not the best way to show what their intentions are, what they mean. Yes, they are just hurting us instead of helping us. So yes, that is something that you shouldn't do. Apart from the Christian front, don't impose what you feel the activities are supposed to be. So there was this, I don't even know why, but there was this whole kind of tendency. People tell me, oh, like go on a walk or read a book, and things that I'm just not in the mood for, don't have the energy to deal with, and all of that. So for me, it was, and if it's being like hinted repeatedly, it becomes so irritating, and then I just want to distance myself. Like when people are going through things, alone time is very important sometimes. Yeah, not all the time, but yeah, and some people don't respect that whole boundary. Um, Stop doing that. Like if you find that you're one of those people, and I can understand, especially from the point of view of a parent, right, where it's like, I mean, this is my child, like you have to do something. And I mean, I have the greatest dad in the world. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to all the amazing dads. Like I hit the jackpot with my dad, and he's been my rock. He's been brilliant. He's done above and beyond. And I mean, that cancer face was just shows you the kind of father he is. For people who have read my book, you know. Um, but even sometimes, like we had to give ourselves some space because it was too much. Like you're being choked. Like the love and the expressions of love are choking you. Like a dad always wanted to kind of know, oh, like, oh, how are you feeling now? I feel exactly how I felt like 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, yesterday, which was like crap. So things like that, or yes, so just go on walks, go read this book. Oh, sure, you shouldn't eat. You have to eat this food, eat this one. Oh, don't eat this one. Those things can be really, really frustrating, especially when they are repeated. So yes, it's important not to do that, especially when you're dealing with a cancer patient. Another thing people do is, which should not be done, is comparing people's stories. That okay, you know of this person that has, even if it's as similar as it gets, maybe somebody in terms of cancer, somebody has breast cancer, oh, you know another person that had breast cancer. Stop comparing both stories. That oh, okay, no, that person is fine now, so don't worry. Like no two cancers are exactly the same thing. They don't have the same outcome. They don't always have the same treatment. It's just it. Don't, oh, somebody lost someone, a dad, or I take heart. That's how it goes. Oh, me too. I lost my dad. You see, I'm fine. All those kind of things are really, really insensitive. They are really, really insensitive, and you shouldn't do it. I know you're trying to, in a bid to kind of form this kind of community, or show that there's this commonality, or we're kindred in this particular situation. No, you're just making it worse, because in straight, you're at best giving them maybe some kind of false hope that, oh, in case you're comparing it to a good outcome or a story that had a good outcome, you're basically like to give them this, okay, it's going to go exactly like that, right? Or at worst, like you just make them feel like if that's not outcome. So for instance, if somebody is comparing me to somebody else, like I get it that there's this hope that hey, she got through it, but that person has their own like journey, like that is really, really different. There are different factors at play. Like you don't want to seem like, oh, if things are getting worse with this person, or should things get worse with that person, like you don't want them to end up feeling like, oh, okay, then this is the end for me. Like this person's story is very different, and they end up being discouraged, right? Stop comparing, because and in a sense it trivializes people's experiences. Please don't trivialize people's experiences. Every single person has a unique belief, a unique way they process things, the way they deal with grief, the way they handle trauma generally. So the fact that, I mean, we could have, or if I lost a child and somebody else lost a child. The fact that, yes, both lost children doesn't necessarily mean we should act the same way, or we're going to process grief in the same way, or there's one kind of framework that everybody should kind of abide by. So please don't do that. Don't do that. Another thing, especially when it comes to cancer, this issue of cancer, because it seems to be so, I mean, there's so much fear around it, is stigma. And consciously, or sometimes unconsciously, many people stigmatize cancer patients. We just kind of, I mean, try to kind of maintain a distance, or feel they have to work on eggshells around them and things like that. Like, if you have a loved one who is going through cancer, I mean, they need all the support and the help they can get. They want to feel understood. They want all they are going through, these unwanted changes in their body, the emotional roller coaster that it is. They need to feel like someone understands them. They need to feel like there is hope, that they're going to get through this, that they're going to care for, provided for, things like that. And cancer has a lot of stigma around it. And I think to a great extent, I get it, it's a troubling situation. Sometimes you don't know what to do. But in doing all of that, just they want to be treated like normal human beings. Yes, their life is not exactly how it was pre-cancer, but more of it. Don't stigmatize them, and then please do not go quiet and ghost them. It's kind of like, oh, something traumatic, something terrible has happened to this person. I get it that you don't know what to say, and there's no perfect thing to say, because there's nothing that is just going to take the pain away or just turn things around, right? Sometimes we really want to help our people, don't know how, and then we kind of, oh, do nothing. Please, as much as possible, right? Don't go quiet on them. Don't feel like even more alone, because I mean, because of doing like research and just observing things, people, of all the things that hurt the most, um, who would even rank them being ghosted or just their loved ones going quiet on them as a more hurtful thing than even saying the wrong thing. I mean, saying the wrong thing, at least the person should be around you, or is trying to be helpful. Um, so yes, please, please, please do not go quiet on your loved one, right? At the end of the day, the real guiding principle is, like I mentioned before, being emotionally intelligent. It's that, okay, based on what you're hearing from this person, or the vibe you're getting from this person, your observation, you're trying to have a very true response and say or do things that should, I mean, has the greatest chance of lifting up this person's spirits, or at least not hurting them. So if you cannot help, at least do not hurt, right? And empathy. Empathy is really, really key. There are many times, and it's I think it's a weird season in life where different people, there's so many people right now that I know that are going through one difficulty or the other. I mean, nobody has a perfect life, but then there's some times that it's like really, really bad, and I have people who are going through terrible health situations, and otherwise. I have people going through serious financial issues and just other things. So there are many people like that. Of course, I know. I mean, you're either you who is watching this, you're either somebody like that, or at least you know somebody like that. Now, how can you help them? Everything should stem from a place of like compassion and genuine consideration for them, right? So if say I'm now going to be using the cancer example, right? I've mentioned this already. Please do not ask how are you feeling, how are you doing all the time. You can jump into a conversation that just skips all of that. As much as possible, they want to, like I said, have some kind of normalcy in their life. Trust me, a person who has cancer is not forgetting any moment of the day that they have cancer. They are aware, they not forget. Right? So not talking about it doesn't mean that they've forgotten or they've relegated to their mind. Anybody going through like real harsh things, really painful things, they don't forget that that thing is happening. So as much as possible, have other conversations. Their life should not, yes, cancer, bad things have upended their life in some way, shape, or form, but that's not what they want their world to be about. So yes. Um, Sometimes, and a lot of the time, in fact, is the best thing you can do is just provide a listening ear. That's the very best thing. And this is one of the top things you can do. If you want to speak, the tendency to, yeah, say something very left that is going to be hurtful is chances are there. Not like you can't say anything wise based on how the conversation goes, but yeah, it's always better to listen than talk in a conversation, right? And especially true in this situation. So some it means they just need it listening. They just need to. I mean, if they want to talk about cancer, fine. If they want to talk about something else, maybe this is like a colleague of yours who, because of cancer, can't work or can't go to school and everything, just want to hear like gist, or they just want to gist and just kind of their mind or talk about different things, especially light gist. Nobody wants any kind of heavy, soul stirring thing in that moment. It could just be about a movie, something. Just yes, let them just talk. Let them onboarding in any way that they want to, and just provide that listening ear. It's important. Also important to respect their decision. Please, 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 please. Um, in terms of cancer, like I said, cancer is a very tricky illness. And dealing with it, managing it, treating it is also tricky. There are different, depending on like cancer stage, what part of the world you're at, there are different kind of treatment options. And based on people's beliefs too, there are different things. There are people who, because of maybe the stories they've heard about the side effects of like traditional treatments, things like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, they will decide, okay, they want to do like more natural therapies. Maybe they want to approach this or attack this through like diet option or something else, right? Um, as much as you may not agree with this path that they've chosen, and I've used like a really high example, right? It could also be something as they want to, yeah, maybe there's a particular uh, function or there's a particular activity that they want to step out for, but you don't think they'll be up for it, or you want them to go for this thing, but they rather just stay home. As much as you think your own like opinion or your own option would be the better thing for them to do, respect their decision. At the end of the day, it's still their body. They're still the ones dealing with the cancer. Just let it be. I mean, if you feel strongly about certain things, there's a way to wisely, um, sensitively offer your counsel. But ultimately, it's their decision to make, and you don't want to make them feel like, oh, they don't have any sense. They're dealing with a lot. There's a lot of like emotions that is kind of flowing. Just respect their decisions as much as possible, right? Um, Now, something that was very helpful in my case, I would say, and I've termed this to be positive distractions. They were very helpful to me. And this is in my support system. My close friends, my family were able to help and provide. And even strangers, or well, they were strangers initially, or at least not so close to me. And like you said, like I mentioned before, a cancer survivor, a cancer patient, or somebody just going through really bad, just wants normalcy as much as possible. I wants to have good moments in between all the bad and all the chaos. Um, and when I say positive distractions, a lot of things were blessings to me in a time, and a lot of that was provided by my support system. So, for instance, I had one particular day where two of my close friends, because I was in the US at the time, two of my close friends who like had flown in actually paid me a surprise visit, like literally from the blue. And then another friend who that town, it just so happens that he also was visiting that day, and turned out to be one of my best days for a time. What we practically did was just stay home, and it was just the gist. It wasn't cancer related gist. We played games, like board games. It was just so living and just really lifted my spirits, right? They didn't take my permission to do like any of that. Um, but they gave me one of the best days in a very, very long time. Thank you, Choice. I see you. And it made such a difference for me. So yes, I call them positive distractions because yes, they're distracting their minds from the problem, but in a very positive way. I mean, there are other things I did myself, which was like, oh, binge Netflix and Hulu shows and all kinds of things. That was what myself, just to get my mind off things and get my mind off the pain. Or you, as the loved one, can do that. Like, hey, if you know this your person loves movies, series, maybe there's just like a new season of a very great show that they like. You can just offer, okay, like watch this together, just things like that. Um, it's really important. And then not just providing like positive distractions, not just maybe things like entertainment, but also doing gestures for them. So, hmm, especially for people who are very like independent minded, like myself, right? Sometimes, I mean, we either don't realize that we need help or we feel like we're asking for too much and then we'll be adding burden to other people's lives. Like, we don't want to pile on them. Maybe it's even like our family members who are already like sacrificing to do things for us, support and all of that. And then we feel bad asking for extra. But it's help that we need, right? Or help that at least will make our lives easier. So whatever you can do in terms of really amazing gestures, it could be helping around the house. I mean, if it's somebody you can actually see physically, right? Helping to maybe do certain chores or get someone to help them do certain chores around the house. If it's driving, giving them a ride, maybe to like a hospital appointment or something, getting food delivered to them. I mean, yeah, it should be something they can eat. Something just nice. I mean, those are nice gestures and things are of that nature. Um, if you ask, what can I do for you? It's going to be hard for them to give an answer. Most of the time, it's really, really hard to say, like, definitely. I mean, things like maybe a financial struggle may be kind of easier to say, where it's kind of like, okay, I do need this amount of money to address this particular issue. Maybe that one is more straightforward. But for somebody who just has an illness, it's just there, like every day comes, goes, weeks come and go, months come and go, and it's just kind of more of the same. It can be hard to even like think of, okay, what what's going to be better, or what can I ask for that will not feel like a burden. So yes, just sometimes just offer. I mean, I've had a lady, my very first Broadway show, right, where I got to like see Dream Girls on stage. For people who know the movie, I mean, it had Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, and all of that. So there's the Broadway show, the stage version of it. And my very first experience was just someone who knew my sister-in-law, somehow just knew of my situation and just literally just offered me a ticket. And that ended up being a really, really pleasant experience for me. So things like that, things like gestures that don't necessarily need this person like your loved one's input, or they don't need um they don't need to stress their brain to start trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? But you can just make somebody's like easier, gift them. It's kind of how like you do a surprise like birthday thing for, or surprise gift for a friend or a family member, things like that. That can be very helpful in their situation. Right. So do that. Another thing is allow them feel useful. And this was like a big thing for me. I mean, when it got so bad where it's like, oh, I'm in so much pain, I'm so weak and tired, I can't do things around the house. This is me, was used to doing everything. I mean, I lived alone, I did that to myself. I've been doing it for years, everything was straightforward. Just to kind of be so helpless, like, and feel like I wasn't useful in any regard, it really got to me. Like, it really, really affected me. And I wanted to, as much as possible, feel useful. So if there's anything I could do, I can remember one particular time I'm not sure where I got the inspiration for this. Maybe I saw a recipe or something, but there was this corned beef stew that I was determined to cook that thing. And in the course of being this, so I was weak. This was in between like chemo sessions. I was really weak, but I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And then I started cooking. At some point of the cooking, like I felt really lightheaded and dizzy, like I was blacking out. I remember having to kind of feel for the kitchen cabinets and then gradually like let myself onto the floor to just kind of get myself back, get myself out of this whole blank mode, like so that I don't actually pass out, just recover as much as possible and then continue. I made sure finished cooking that on beef stew. Um, yes, just to feel useful. It's really tough when humans do not feel useful. And for a cancer patient or somebody who's going through something chronically like that, they really need to feel useful as much as possible. So also help them feel useful. It shouldn't be beyond what they can deal with at times, especially if it's a health thing. So if you have a loved one who has like a really bad case of like arthritis, like serious pains and all of that, you won't want to allow the person to be lifting like a heavy weight or anything like that. No. But as much as possible, allow them feel useful. Maybe this person doesn't want to like be carried or be pushed in a wheelchair. Maybe the person would prefer to just use a walker to at least be contributing to their own mobility. Things like that. Like just allow them to feel like they are doing stuff. Right? It's just like a child who is growing and can begin to like do things, take on responsibilities here and there. So yeah, as much as is within reason, allow them feel useful. Now, another thing which is crucial. Sorry. Another thing which is crucial. Hold on a second. Okay. Another thing which is crucial is to. This happened to me a lot where just because of everything going on, my life is upside down. I'm in so much pain. Things are just going left, and I just feel like I don't have control on all these things. Um, I was going through a lot of pain, and sometimes it led me to lash out at the people I love the most. I mean, my dad had a good deal of this experience. I mean, because he was the one most with me like through the journey, and times being in a very stressed and bad emotional state, it is commonplace. And due to all the pain, the anxiety, everything going wrong, it's commonplace to lash out at people. I mean, the people who are closest to you are probably going to feel the brunt of it. Now, you as a loved one, what I am pleading with you to do is to please enjoy it. It doesn't feel nice, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes it really, you can just see that this is like a misplaced aggression, but then please endure and forgive their lashing out. It's not necessarily you. In fact, oftentimes it's not you, it's just the pain talking. Um, so it's important to kind of have this thick skin and accommodate as much as possible. And another thing that you could so do is initiate. I mean, when they do need help like that, in terms of like finance resources, because yes, cancer treatment is not cheap. I mean, there's so many chronic illnesses too that yeah, it takes a pretty penny to deal with, and then other things could be happening. One thing you can do is initiate crowdfunding campaigns for them. So the popular one we know, like GoFundMe and things like that, to be able to at least help assist. I mean, it could be that you and maybe some other loved ones are already trying to gather funds in support, but then maybe what is needed to help this person is beyond what you guys can carry. So sometimes, because it doesn't feel nice. I think most people, let me not say all, but most people do not feel good having to like beg and just to be asking people for money. It makes them feel less. It makes them feel icky. It makes them feel like yeah, it's not something they would rather not do. It's very very last resort. Right? And the person probably shouldn't be dealing with any of that stress anyway. So what I've seen and I've seen, I mean, good friends do this for their friends. Just initiate crowdfunding campaigns like GoFundMe. The last I checked, or the last I knew about, I don't think For those in Nigeria, I think you cannot generate the account or you can't build the account from Nigeria. It has to be somebody, maybe a brother, so who sets it up. But then yes, that's a good way to also show support. I mean, when it's a good way people have been able to use to raise money for treatments. So if you can do that for your friend, that or your family member, yeah, your colleague, that would be really, really, really like a wonderful thing. So yes, like I said, it's not a one size fits all approach. Depending on what you know about this person, depending on the kind of relationship you have with this person, their personality and all of that, it could inform like which approach you feel will be good. But at least I've given like a general overview on which of these things apply for more people, I believe. So yes, hope it's made sense. What you shouldn't do, and what you should do, or what you should say, and most importantly, just lead with empathy. Be emotionally intelligent. Be sensitive and everything. Like so, yes, a lot of all that, the good and the bad and the ugly when it comes to all these things has been captured in my book, Rooftop, which is my struggles and triumph over stage 4 cancer. I'm glad for gift of life. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad that this marks 5 years being cancer free, which is really, really amazing and an important milestone in my life. And one thing I'll always be very extremely grateful for is my support system. They are one in a million. They help me through a whole lot, and it's really testament to the fact that in life you really do need people. You can't do this alone. In fact, I used to wonder at certain points of my journey, people who are alone, how do they do this? Like that's crazy. How do you bear this burden alone? And yes, a huge thank you to all of you who are trying to be good support systems to your people and are good support system to your people. The fact that you're here means you even want to learn how to even do better. So yeah, that is my story. Over to you, Mr. Nobis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc, for this great exposition. I mean, I know that we may not be able to specifically state it for everybody's situation, but I think you have given us a how do I put it now, a whole bracket of actions to take regarding people taking care of individuals who are going through such phases. Okay, guys, so if you got questions, she's been able to do 49 minutes. We usually do for tonight for the 5 minutes and 15 minutes of questions. If you have questions to ask Doc, please do. So Doc, but I'm just trying because sometimes it looks like we may not be able to completely we may not be able to completely prevent or protect ourselves from the words of people. Let me give you a particular example now with a friend of mine. And so my friend, he's based here in the city of Abuja, and there was a time he wrote a story about how he and his wife they had to depend. They loved each other so well, and they had to depend on God. Their genotype was ASAS, and against the wishes of people, against the medical advice that they shouldn't get married. He wrote that two of them decided to go to God in prayer, and they went to God in prayer, and sorry, they went to God in prayer, and they had kids. They got married and they had kids that are AA, and they had a pair of twins, and now one of the twins died I think 2 weeks ago. And so when he reached out to me, I told him, I think one of the things that you have to do is to help to protect your wife because looking back at that post that you made, people may start to talk, certain things. Oh, okay, God helped you to make your genotype become AS. Now what happened? God has let you down and all that kind of stuff. So on our own part, how do we may not prevent people from spitting trash, but how do we protect ourselves? For example, someone comes and says, oh, I get this my friend, or where they seek this kind of sickness, the person no come make all those kind of things. I don't know. I'm just if there's a framework for that.
Okay, thank you for that question. And yeah, it actually has reminded me of something that I didn't chip in earlier. Yes, we cannot determine the actions of others, and we can't make anybody do anything or not do anything, right? All we really have control over is ourselves and our response. And yeah, people will say things that come off as insensitive all day. What I would say is, so for instance, when there were a few people who were, so there was one particular person who was going this whole religious route and was being just basically inferring that, hey, like this is the way you pray this, you read this, and if you're not getting healed, if things are not getting better, you're not doing right and everything. See, first of all, this person is not like, oh, close friend, family member. I mean, friends, but we're not chumming like that. I mean, I warn you, I mean, if I let you know that it's not cool what you're doing and then you continue, then yes, I now have a decision to make and maintain distance. So this person, I blocked this person for a good while. This was on WhatsApp. So the person, it's not like we were in the same vicinity. So just chatting back and forth. I blocked this person for a good long while. Right. So that is one thing. Like if it's a relationship where hey, you just have to maintain distance with this person, do that. It's not just about cutting people off for fun, but hey, healthy distance, protect your space. It's important for you in your whole dealing process. Um, and yeah, there was somebody else who I mean I found it because we're very at least significantly close at a point, and then this person knows what I'm going through, and then we hadn't spoken in a while, and the next thing this person tells me is, oh, like almost like nawa for you. So if you don't reach out, I won't reach out to you. Like, and to me, this was a very bad day, like an extremely bad day. I had not, I had the chemotherapy session, and then I think it was like 2 days later, I was in a very bad stage, really weak, hadn't eaten, and I was still managing to throw bile and things like that. I was getting dehydrated. I could feel like, oh, my heart rate was rising, like things were going on. I had to go to the hospital later that day. So it was just a bad day. And then to open my phone, look at my message, and this is what is coming from somebody. If the person didn't know what was going on with me, is one thing. Like you knew. So I found it to be really, really insensitive. I just blocked the person. Like it was just, I was done. I couldn't deal at that time. I mean, we talk now, but I just needed to protect my space. So do what you can do to protect your space. Let them know. I think it's important, like feedback is important, so that if the person is not aware that this is how this comes off or this person what you're doing is wrong, like you begin to know and hopefully address it. Some people may correct themselves, some people don't. If the person doesn't, you just know this is how the person is, that's their own business, right? So yeah, as much as possible, protect like your own space and then try to educate. Maybe they're just ignorant, they really do not know better. So you can do that. I mean, you don't need to address it right away because you have a higher tendency to just kind of lash back or react in that moment. But hey, you could tell them, look, depending on your relationship, there are some people at the end of the day that you really just need to keep it moving. Like you don't need to have no further interactions with them on that note. Um, so yeah, that's basically what I would say in terms of that. Certain things, depending on the relationship, really. If it's not about somebody that is not really close, just kind of just there, yeah, I don't think we need to like interact further, at least not for the foreseeable future. But then if it's somebody who, okay, this person is close to me, it's like a family member, this is like a close friend, and this is a relationship I want to maintain and improve and kind of grow, and it's important that we just kind of address it. Just as if when there's any kind of situation in your close relationships, you want to be able to talk it out, squash it, move on. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't know, you can't truly prevent people from saying these things. I give you a particular example also. Like when I had my first son, actually, Best. So Best was quite rambunctious, and in church, Best would run up and down and shout and make all the noise. I think he was 3 years old or four. I can't remember now. But there was a particular woman, who looked and said, that Best was possessed. And I looked at the woman and said, do not ever say that thing again about my son. And this was in church, in church. I mean, for a child of that age, it's expected for the child to be, to be that way, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "Do not ever say that kind of rubbish again about my son." And people tend to see me as one calm, easygoing guy. So in church, and by the time she could see, they'll say something, she see the redness within my eye. She had to, retract her words and apologized, and then I just moved on. So we may not be able to stop people from saying certain things, but our ability to address the situation at that point in time. But I think you'll agree with me also that if you are, like, for example, when the lady did what she did, I was in a great mental state. I wasn't sick. I wasn't. But you know that when you're sick, you're lying down on the bed, you're weak, you're tired, and people start to say you can even be lying down on the bed and they are in your hospital, they are in your room, actually, your hospital room, to come to visit, and they start to mumble and say all those kind of stuff. Will you be able to, in that kind of state situation, be able to deal? And this could be coming from your family members or even your close friends, or people who you call close people, something like that.
Yeah.
In that kind of situation, what do you think someone should do? Should he be able to speak to your relations who are with you to protect you or something? I don't know.
So I guess it kind of depends on the dynamic and what you can do in that period of time. Like you said, I mean, you could be really weak or going through pain and stuff. You can't just clear the person that is causing you wahala, right? Um, and in that situation, managing your energies is really important. So I would say it doesn't mean that you're accepting the rubbish. It doesn't mean that you're cool with what is going on. But I think in that period, as much as possible, it's all about trying to just ignore, just be in that mindset of you're shutting all of that down, right? It's kind of like, I mean, let me use this for example of, oh, you know how we take the whole marriage thing in our part of the world, especially for females, and then maybe there's certain things, maybe there's a family wedding that, oh, all the family members come for, and then the aunties of the place are coming to, when is your own? Those kind of things where you can't just, I mean, there could be that temptation to just like give it back to them or say something that they would even be shocked, like, I never, maybe basically they want to call family meeting on top of your head, right? But the next thing and probably the more energy conserving thing would just be to like, maybe you just smile, maybe you just, I mean, take it in good stride, maybe you just walk away, go find a friend or somebody just to do things with. At the end of the day, it's you kind of have to like choose. You may not have the energy or the bandwidth to kind of go out all out and address the situation in that particular time. I think you just have to, in a sense, have it thick skin and then just ignore as much as possible. It can be something that will be addressed later, because I still believe like, hey, if it's going to be a repeated behavior, somebody's going to go over and over again, then yeah, you need to deal with it, you need to clear it. But possibly in that very moment when you're going through what you're going through, you're really weak and stuff, yeah. Just let your energy be conserved for something else. That's what I would say.
Okay, guys, I don't know if anybody has a question for our pretty doctor. Let's ask our questions. We have about, okay, we've done 1 hour already, but if you got questions, please drop your questions in the comment section right now, and I'll bring it up on the screen so that put it up on the screen so that she can answer. If you got questions, if you have any question whatsoever. So Prosper, when we are asking the name of the lady, her name is on the screen. Her name is Dr. Izunwa. I think the banners are preventing your name from showing fully. I don't know. Yeah, so you can see her name right now. That's her name. You can search her on Facebook. Uh, on Facebook, and I don't know, Doc. Are you on any other platform too?
Oh yes, yes. Okay, so Facebook and LinkedIn, it's Izumua Madison, just my name. Right. You can also find me on Instagram. So either type out Izumua or it's at Amada. So ARMADA underscore Izzy. And there's also my other handle, my business handle, which is at Money Doctor Izzy. So yeah, it's the same for
Fantastic.
Instagram and TikTok. It's the same thing. So yeah, if you just put my name, I'm pretty sure my handles will pop up.
Okay, so before you go, before we close on the live stream, please tell us a little bit about your book. I mean, you've written this book. Should people tell us about the book, really?
Okay, thank you. So the book is called Rooftop: My Struggles and Triumph Over Stage 4 Cancer. And really, I mean, how this book came to be is very early on in my whole cancer debacle. I had been on admission for about 3 weeks. It was a really bad time. Had literally the worst day of my life. Everything seemed upside down. And in my conversation with a cousin of mine, I was like, "See, if I get through this, I'm going to scream it from the rooftop." So there and there, I just already had the idea for this book that, hey, if I get through this, something as crazy, as wild, as life threatening as stage 4 cancer, then, well, I'm going to share my story, use it to encourage other people, and them hope, really use it as an educational tool, first of all, for people to understand what cancer is really like, because cancer is literally everywhere. Every single person. In fact, I can bet $1 million that every single person watches this at least knows one person who either has died from cancer or is currently battling cancer, myself excluded. Um, so it's something that is common, it's something that is rampant, it's something that is affecting a lot of people. Right? And people need to know how to deal with this. Okay, what actually goes on with cancer? How can I manage this? I've talked about how to help as a loved one. People be able to get insights from a very real story. This is not something imagined. This is not something that is far from us. I mean, especially like for Africans, like we need more of those stories, considering all the like fear and shame and stigma that comes with cancer. So yes, I had committed to doing that. Thank God. I mean, I came through it, so I was determined to follow through on my commitment to write this book. So I'm very very honest about everything I went through leading up to diagnosis, through my journey, right, all the way to being declared cancer free. So you get to know all the highs and lows. You get to understand the dynamics, family of the ones, treatments, every single thing. And it's going to be a big eye opener, because it's also going to really show you how like my thinking and my mentality has grown and evolved through that whole process. I mean, I'm glad that we have another session next week where I really go into, I mean, we're going to be discussing how to live an authentic, intentional, and fulfilled happy life, right? Or rather, how to live an intentional, authentic, and happy life. And a lot of that and where I am right now in life had to do with thinking that was birthed through this whole process, how my thinking got really refined, and yeah, these kind of things put into perspective what really matters in one's life. So a whole lot of that whole journey, it's a big eye opener. I mean, anytime people read it, it's not just a book for cancer survivors or just their loved ones. This is a really insightful book that will people understand. I mean, what it really means to go through hard times, really, really hard times, things that you are out of your control, how you can cope with it, how you can deal with that, both emotionally, financially, and all of that. The people, I mean, your circle, it's really good to have good people in your corner. You really cannot do life alone, and you see some really candid examples of that in that. And then ultimately, how do you live a life that is like meaningful and true to you and really cause an impact in your own corner, in your own sphere, and all. So it's an all-round book. It would um, really stir you emotionally, but then it's also sprinkled with a lot of humor. So you also laugh. It's not a comedic book, but you're going to have good moments of laughter. So don't think of it as cancer, 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 and you know the end of the story. I mean, I'm alive and well. I'm in front of you talking right now. So yeah, it's a book of victory, and more people need to read it. So please, yes, get your copy. Again, it's Rooftop: My Struggles and Triumph Over Stage 4 Cancer. It's available on Seller, website, seller.co. So it's seller.co/rooftop. You can find it. I don't know if we can put the links in the chat, Mr. Dobis, maybe, but it's there on Seller website. It's also on the Amazon website. So if you're abroad, you want to order a copy, yes, you can easily just get your copies, either hard copy or e-copy. It's fine. If you're somebody who likes to do audiobooks, let me just give a pro tip. You can download a text reader app and just read it off the e-copy. It solves your problem because there's no official audio copy yet. But yeah, that's where to get my book, and I hope a lot of you do this. This is another key thing I should mention is that I, as part of my own like support for the cancer survivor community and to be able to give back, I'm working with a foundation called the Foundation for Cancer Care in West Africa. They're headquartered in Lagos, but yes, they have patients all over. And two key things that are, I would say, there are gaps in the when it comes to the treatment of cancer survivors. And two things I struggled with is the whole emotional support and counseling, and also pain management, because yeah, my pain was really bad and cancer pain is really bad. And many people don't get the kind of treatments that they really should and will help them overall, because cancer is not just an illness that affects your body. It affects other aspects of it. Like it affects your mental health, your emotional health for sure. And then pain is not, this is not the, you take one injection or you just take like ibuprofen and it will be good. No, cancer pain is cruel. It's debilitating. If you read the book, you understand what cancer pain is. I was on a continuous infusion of morphine at a point, and still my pain did not go away. So there are many things we need to do to help such people. And my work with the foundation is to be able to help more and more cancer survivors get that treatment, and how, or a key part of that support is from proceeds of the sale of this book. So it's not just you buying what is a wonderful book and will really serve you and be really eye-opening to you and help your loved ones, but you also be supporting the work that we do with the foundation, which is, I mean, they're immensely grateful for, and I would be immensely grateful for. So please do show your support and get copies of Rooftop. It will be well worth it. And yeah, God richly bless. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. So we're going to hook up again next week. Thank you for doing this with me. I'm very grateful. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and everybody who partook in this conversation. God bless you, and see you again next time next week. Thank you, Doc.
Thank
And have
you. Thank you, sir. And thank you,
a
everyone.
evening.